Hello and welcome to the surprise edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. I know I said earlier this week in one of my other videos that we probably wouldn't because my dad's computer was being looked at and being updated or whatnot. So he got it back. So now here we are. And we missed last week because of illnesses and craziness going on just between the two houses. And here we are. We're back.
Yeah, baseball took a back row seat last week.
Yes, yeah. I'm still not 100% myself. I wasn't sick. Well, I was feeling bad Monday.
Yeah, well, you couldn't do it Sunday because you worked all those hours.
Yeah, Sunday I worked.
Sunday, and then you worked so many hours, and then Monday you were just exhausted, so you just didn't do it. So we just said, okay, forget it.
Yeah, so here we are. Happy to say that Soto hit his first Mets home run at his first at-bat yesterday.
And Dela Cruz hit one from each side of the plate yesterday, too.
He is going to grow into, I think, a special player. Everybody poo-pooed on him his first half season or third of the season. But I told her he still is raw. He's learning. But I tell you what, he gets on those base paths. It's Little League Baseball. It's going to be exciting. I think you're looking at 50 stolen, maybe 70 this year by him if he gets a better on base percentage, and hopefully they're working with him. I don't know how long he's going to stay as an infielder, but we'll see. I think he'll move to the outfield eventually. What do you think he'll stay on the infield as long and lanky as he is?
I think he will. He's still young.
Right. So
I think he will until his body won't allow him to move. His flexibility won't allow him to move like it did before. That's what's happened to Altuve. Altuve's gotten some age on him, and he's not tall. Right. He's a short guy, but he can't cover second base like he used to. Plus, he has the yips thrown to first, so they've moved him to left field. And so after a certain age, your body starts giving out on you, and you got to do something else if you're going to play. Yogi Berra played left field for a couple of years because he couldn't catch anymore.
Yeah, Gary Carter did the same thing. Giants.
So, I mean, it's just that's what makes the guy.
Mauer played almost just. Did he play more at first than he did?
He played more at first than he caught, and that's what makes the Perez in Kansas City so fantastic.
Right.
The guy's 63 years old. He's still catching.
Molina, how long he was there? Those guys, the special ones that you're true right up those catchers that do it for a long. Posey had to stop because they wanted to move him to first, and he didn't want to move to first. Catcher is just an abusive spot. Terrible on your legs, get beat up on. They moved. Cardinals moved the one that young boy. He's going to play first this year because he got beat up so bad last year. Broke his arm. He got Castellanos. Not Castellanos. What's his?
His brother catches. His brother
Wilmer and Wilson. Is the two
his brother Contreras or something like that.
Yeah.
His brother catches for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, and they both got cannons of arms. They're good behind the plate, but
and for catchers they hit pretty well.
Yeah. So moving him to first will save his body some because he got beat up last year for St. Louis. That poor guy. But you have anything for us today? What do you?
Well, I had stuff from last week. I got some stuff to go through. I think one thing's kind of funny. I was at church today with the kids, and one of the dads came in, and he and his boys are Dodger fans, and he said, "Oh, the Dodgers getting tore up in spring training." I said, "That's why they call it spring training. It doesn't count."
Yeah, I'm not a big spring training fan.
Well, it's like preseason football. It means absolutely nothing.
Right.
Anyway.
If you want to see what's going on in spring training, you need to go to the backfields and see what's going on with the young boys.
See who's throwing and who's catching and who's doing extra infield.
Right.
The LA Dodgers, they signed Kiki Hernandez. They brought him back. He's 33, but brought him back, and he and Clayton Kershaw for a year. So they got the whole gang just about back. Opening day, for the Dodgers and the Cubs will be the 18th and 19th of March, and the opening day for everybody else will be March 27th. The Cubs had right-handed pitcher Javier Assad is out with a strained oblique, and they hope to have him ready by the beginning of the season, but they don't, since they're starting early, he's not going to be ready. Tokyo, they were reselling tickets for those two games from $2,500 to $21,000, depending on where you're sitting. Both games have been sold out.
Which we knew. I mean, you got opening game is going to have two Japanese pitchers. I mean,
yes, and the other, here's another thing. Taiwan has a brand new ballpark in one of their leagues. They have a brand new ballpark, and they're playing a play-in tournament for the World Baseball Classic next year, and it's Spain, Taiwan. I can't remember the other two, Argentina and somebody else, Venezuela or something. I've forgotten. But anyway, the games that Taipei, they're automatically sold out. And so their baseball over there is looking good.
Well, I mean, you when those teams go over, they'll play probably some Japanese teams too for preseason.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Before it'll be like a little tour, and then them two will play each other.
And Ronald Acuna, with his knee, he's rehabbing. They think he'll probably miss the first 6 weeks of the season. And Strider, the earliest he'll be back is late April, the earliest.
And you as a Nationals fan, me as a Mets fan, that's our division. But you want to see the best players in the game.
Best players. I mean, I've said all along, I'm a Commanders fan, so I root against the other three teams in that division. But when they played Philadelphia and they beat Philadelphia after the quarterback got hurt, Hurts got hurt. When he got hurt and went out of the game, I said, well, you got to put an asterisk on this game because they weren't playing the best quarterback. Right. So, I mean, I want to see the best players play. If my team cannot beat your best players, when the Nationals play the Mets, I want to make sure Lindor's in the lineup. I want to see Soto in the lineup. I want to see Pete in the lineup. I want to see Nimmo in the lineup. I want to see all the good players, Benitez or whatever his name is, the third base. I want to see them in the lineup because if my Nationals can't beat your Mets, then they don't deserve to win. It's that simple. I want to see the best players. I almost wore a Duke hat today because last night I watched the basketball team. They played the University of Illinois, which has got a good team this year, in Madison Square Garden. That is the single most perfection basketball played by a team since John Wooden had the UCLA Bruins that won for 70,000 years and had Al Cindor and those. I'm just telling you, Duke they just played what I would call a perfect game. Now they're not going to win the national championship because they're not going to play like that the rest of the year. But it was just amazing. They won 110-69. I mean, it was crazy. But anyway, that's basketball. I like basketball too. Kenley Jansen is still playing. He signed a 1-year contract with the LA Angels for $10 million. Oh, and one of our favorite players. He's not that great a hitter, but he's a heck of a center fielder, Michael A. Taylor. He has signed a 1-year, $2 million contract with the White Sox. The Angels also reported that Anthony Rendon, had to have more surgery on his hip, and he probably won't play maybe ever again. But he's still collecting money.
When did he play? That's
last time. The best thing that ever happened to the Nationals was when he left them in free agency, because after that he fell apart.
Right.
Alex Cobb.
And he doesn't care. That's the whole thing. He doesn't care.
No, he's just collecting a check. Alex Cobb of San Francisco, pitcher. He's got an injured hip, and they don't think he'll be ready by opening day. Ned Yost, who used to manage he managed the Kansas City, and in 2014 and 15 went to the World Series, and he won a World Series with Kansas City. He signed with Kansas City, and he's a senior administrator with the general manager. So he's going to work in the general manager's office. the Minnesota signed Ty France to a 1-year deal. And here's another guy that you and I know because he used to play for the Orioles. Arizona signed Trey Mancini, who fought cancer and defeated it.
World Series ring with
and he was a heck of a player at one time with the Orioles.
Yeah, I love Trey. I still love Trey Mancini.
And well, he signed a minor league contract with Arizona, so hopefully he might make the major league team. The Red Sox finally signed Alex Bregman to a 3-year, $120 million contract with, from what I understand, quite a bit of it is deferred. So he finally signed the last of Boros.
I think that's going to be a good signing for both of them. Bregman playing in that field, it's hard to say he's going to earn the contract, but I think he'll do well. And
he's a left-handed pull hitter. He was great in
right-handed pull hitter.
Right-handed pull hitter. He was great in Houston because he could hit the ball up there on the train.
Yeah, the band
on that short porch up there.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's got the green monster.
Yep. So, and had a tall wall too, so all of that played for him.
Now there's a problem. They have a problem in Boston, and that is the Devers, the third baseman. They never told him he was moving.
Well, he's played first in the past. He played first.
Well, they actually want but he doesn't want to. He came out and said, "I'm their third baseman. I'm playing third base, or I don't want to. I'm not going to play." Well, I'm sorry to tell you this. It's not the NBA. The players don't run the league like they do in the NBA.
Stroman said he won't go to the bullpen. He ain't showed up to practice yet.
Well, he started the first spring game the other day. I watched.
Okay.
And he's just like everybody else. You want a paycheck, son? You're going to go where I tell you to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, but right now it looks like, Bregman said, I don't care. I'll play second. I don't care. I'll play where you want me to. Tell me where you want me to play. That's where I'll play.
Right.
So we'll see how that.
Put my name right on my check.
Yeah. He did turn down earlier a $156 million 6-year contract during the offseason from Houston. So and he turned down a contract like that earlier from Boston.
Yeah, well, Morris is getting hammered in the press, and rightfully so, with both guys, because Pete could have signed an extension before the season last year and made a ton of money, but instead he had he had a below average season as a power hitting first baseman, which is a dime a dozen in MLB. Let's be real.
In San Diego, they signed right-handed pitcher Nick Pivetta, who pitched with the Red Sox last year. They signed him. He's 32 years old, 4 years, $55 million. Giancarlo Stanton, who hit one of the longest home runs you and I've ever seen in Washington when he was with Miami. He's out with both with tendonitis in both elbows. I've had tendonitis in my left elbow. It lasted about 6 months, and my orthopedic surgeon gave me an injection and it helped. I'm gonna tell you that's painful. So if he's got it in both elbows, I don't know how he's eating. How do you pick up a fork? It's day to day, and who knows? The Nationals signed infielder Paul DeJong to a 1-year, $1 million contract. He's not a big hitter, but he's an excellent infielder. And the White Sox signed captain strikeout Joey Gallo to a minor league deal. Last year he was with the Nationals, and I saw him hit a couple of home runs, but boy, did he strike. He hit like 140 for the year. He strikes out all the time. He always has. Justin Turner's still in baseball. He signed a 1-year, $6 million contract with the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
The Yankees gave him.
The Cubs lineup is going to be sneaky.
They're good. They're good. We're not going to make our predictions till the end, just before the season starts, but I'm going to pick the Cubs to win that division, I'm pretty sure. But anyway.
I don't know. It's hard to pick and go against the Brewers.
Because the Brewers
they'll just figure it out.
They'll have people I never heard of playing, and then Yelich will be hitting 460.
And they lost their best player, Adames.
He'll get hurt. They lost their closer. They lost their shortstop. They lost their closer, and they're still going to. Who knows? They did it last year. How did they do this? I don't know. I mean, that's one of those organizations that knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's all I
yeah,
can say.
yeah. They're like Tampa. Tampa, they had an off year last year, but they're going to be competitive again.
Yeah, but they were all right around 500. I mean, if the Yankees and the Yankees and Orioles were so good that it made everybody else look bad.
Yeah.
Aaron Boone signed a 2-year extension with the Yankees, which made a lot of Yankee fans unhappy for some reason. I mean, the guy takes them to the playoffs 5 out of 6 years and to the World Series, and you want him fired? I'm really okay. Somebody explain that to. I don't know. I don't understand. Now.
Well, he made that wrong decision that one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrong pitching decision that one time.
Yeah, he put cream in his coffee.
He ate his pizza with a fork.
Yeah. Kansas City, Blake Mitchell has a broken hamate bone. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. We also had another passing this week. Scott Sauerbach he's 53 years old. He played 7 years in the majors for different teams. He passed away, but I tried to look it up. I could not find out what happened. I don't know what it was. 53 years old. That's
young.
Oh, that's very young. That's your age.
Yeah.
And a couple of other things.
That's really young.
Now, I can't imagine. I don't know how many people stayed from beginning to end of this game. But Rhode Island played William and Mary in Williamsburg in baseball last week. The final score was William and Mary 22, Rhode Island 36.
Jesus.
36 to 22.
And it was probably like 30 degrees.
Rhode Island would have had 37, but the guy missed an extra point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many people outside of the players and the coaches sat there and watched that whole game? Can you imagine how long that took? It's just amazing. They
probably stopped it early if it was that many, because they would have won by 10 runs.
Well, apparently,
I think the 7th inning.
I have no idea. Mike Trout is going to move to right field this year to try to save his body, some wear and tear on his body, so he doesn't have to cover center field. So he's moving to right field, and he didn't have to argue with Devers about it. And Mark Kotsay, the manager of West Sacramento, has been extended through 2028. He did an excellent.
They're doing things there. I got to say, and I told
he did an excellent job with that team last year. I'm gonna tell you.
And that second half last year, they were very competitive.
At one time last year, I think it was during July or maybe early August, their team led major leagues in home runs.
Yeah.
Playing in Oakland.
Yes. And they have an excellent young leadoff man that was a rookie last year, Butler, that should have got a little bit more noise than he did.
He played for the A's.
He has a great on-base percentage. He's quick. He's got a great player in the field. What they got, what's his face that has the balls to wear Mark McGuire's number. He re-signed this year and he wears it well. That team is quietly good. They got a couple of good pitchers. I hope their relievers healthy this year. Their closer. They're going to make a little noise over there out west. And
look at it this way.
I think they're going to be right at 500. I think this year. That's my big right now.
We haven't even gotten started with anything yet, but in the American League West, they have three managers that I really like. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the manager in Seattle or the manager in Houston. I'm not. They're fine managers, but there's three of them that I really like. That's Bruce Bochy, because I saw him up close and personal with the San Francisco Giants beat my Nationals 2 years to get to the World Series, during the playoffs. And Mark Kotsay for what he's done with the A's, and Ron Washington with the Angels.
Ron Washington is my favorite coach.
Ron Washington, if you were a young man and could play Major League Baseball, out of all the managers in Major League Baseball, he'd be the manager I wanted you to play for. That's what I think about Ron Washington. Let me give you a little story. Real quick little story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last year, I might have brought this up the week we did the show after the game. Shortstop for the Angels, young kid, made 2 errors in 1 inning and allowed about 4 runs, 3 runs to score, 4 runs. He was so down when he walked off the field. So he got to the dugout. Commercial time. So the commercials, they come back. And during the next half inning, they showed they said, we want to show you what Ron Washington did between innings. This young man went in and sat down, and he dropped his glove in the dugout, and he just sat with his head down. Ron Washington walked over in front of him and squatted down and put his hands on his knees. And I think he said, "Look at me," because the young man raised his head, and Ron Washington was talking to him. And I guarantee you he was telling him,
I need you, brother.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You're not the only guy in here that's made an error. I made tons of them.
We need you.
We need you to go back out and field your position. We've got to have you. There are some managers, me included, or coaches, that might have said, "Look, son, you do that again, you're going to Fresno." Now, I can say that because I might do it that way because I'm kind of a fiery guy. But here again, I was a supervisor. I had people under me. I could holler at some I had to deal with. Depending on the individual, this is such a young, personable kid. You don't want him to get off on the wrong foot. I was just, and you could tell the kid just felt better when Ron Washington finished. This is the type of guy, when he was with the Braves, hitting the fungo infields and have all those infield drills. He was the first base coach or third base coach, and he had the infield drills. That was the best fielding team in baseball.
And so he took a young guy that just came up, was out there working with him early, like in the day with fielding. And Ozzie Albies knew, hey, if he's out there teaching, I'm going to be out there too.
Came early.
Ozzie Albies went out there with them and and they're out there doing drills. And this is a guy that's an all-star. I think he's maybe winning a Golden Glove. Just going off the top of my head, but Ozzie Albies is a very established all-star player in baseball, and that's what Ron Washington. When he had those Rangers teams, they were good. I mean, he coaches up. He got
to the World Series.
Yes, he takes mediocre and coaches them up, and he tries to he does what a manager is supposed to do: put you in a situation to win, right? And that's
in the American League West. In the American League West, with what they've lost, they've picked up some, but what they've lost, we'll have to see how Houston does. Seattle, I kid about Seattle, call them the Chargers, all that other stuff, but I always wish they could do something, But there's room for movement in that division. I think Texas is going to rebound, but I think both the Angels and and especially the Athletics, with what they've done, I think both teams could do a little something. I think the Athletics could do a lot.
I think that Angels are going to win a few more games because of Ron Washington again this year. They picked up a little bit of talent, but they haven't made big news.
And they don't have the pitching.
Oakland did the best thing they could, was re-sign, and they picked up a couple of pitchers. And
they're going to be in a hitter-friendly ballpark instead of that mausoleum they were playing in Oakland. It was huge.
And I believe in the Astros, Yordan Alvarez is going to have to play the field this year, so that might be something to watch if that's true.
Well, no, he's not going to play center, and he's not going to play left because Altuve, they moved him out there. He'd have to play right, and I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, Yordan, he's a first baseman by trade, but the way I was reading and some of the I was looking at projected lineups, and a lot of them have been playing the outfield. And I was like, well, that could lose as many runs as he actually puts in. Yeah. So that was because he's just a lumbering big fella. And I mean, Altuve, I'm always, being a baseball player, you should be able to play anywhere. You should have a sense of how to play every position. But you play that long, and then all of a sudden you get in the outfield, and the way the ball just curves around. Hopefully he does all right. Yeah. I'm not going to hold his cheating years against. I'm not one that does that. Is it that he's one? I think he's maybe the last one left off of that team.
Yeah, because Bregman's gone.
Right. So
Carrero's gone. Yeah, I think he's about the only one left.
The catcher,
the young shortstop, he wasn't there, was he? He came after that, didn't he?
Well, Carrera was the shortstop.
Yeah, that shortstop.
Yeah, that shortstop came afterwards. Jordan came after. Cal Tucker even came after. And he's now gone.
Yeah, you're right. Just about everybody. There might be one or two older pitchers in the bullpen or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
McCullers is still on the team.
But I mean, it's hard to hear the trash can in the bullpen. So,
yeah, exactly.
But anyway, that some movement, in this last couple of weeks. We got the finally, spring training games are underway this week.
Yeah, I watched some of them off and on. I tuned in to see certain people come up to bat and watch.
Yeah, it's just nice to see just baseball, but I don't put too much into it.
I did see
you got pitchers working on pitches and things like that.
I did see this.
What's that? Oh, somebody at the plate.
The first game, top of the first, the guy did it.
So are they? That ain't going to be in the majors this year, is it?
No. They're doing it in spring training, and then they're going to get the reaction of the players, managers, coaches, and umpires, and everybody involved. They're going to get feedback from them, decide what they're going to do. But they're going to keep it in the minor leagues.
Right. Yeah, so I'm not totally against it as long as it works right. And I have
I saw it used twice.
Seen it a lot, and he said it works fine.
I saw it used twice. One batter, he was way off. He thought, no, it was the catcher. The catcher said, that was a strike. And the ball was about that far above the strike zone. He was way on. But Pete did it yesterday when he came up to bat for the first time, and the ball was low and inside, and they called it a strike. And he tapped his hat. So they went back and looked at it. And it was a millimeter out of the strike.
Oh, really? And the thing is
he got high-fived in the dugout like he just hit a home run.
Right. And I do believe each batter is calibrated in that every time they come up.
Yes, it does. The box is calibrated. Now, the other thing is this, too. When we sit there and watch a game on television, they got the box up there. Yeah. It's set up at the front of the plate. This is set up in the middle of the plate.
Right. And also, that box we watch, we've said this 100 times, it's not legit because it's off angle. You're never going to get a straightforward center field shot because the pitcher's in the way. So it's always off to one side or the other, just a little bit, which if you ever go to a game and try to watch and pitch about strike zone by sitting down the first base line, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't tell.
You can tell if it's between the letters and the kneecaps. You can tell, but you can't tell whether it's inside or outside.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you got to go by how the catcher moves and the batter moves.
Right. Exactly. So, that you got to keep all of that in reference. So,
but if you're on the right field foul line and the catcher's right here and the ball comes right there and the umpire calls it a ball, he's wrong. Especially when the next pitch, the guy hits 450 feet.
Yeah, we've seen that. Yeah. Well, that whole game, that umpire was terrible. When I'm going to I remember going to take a tinkle. And, they play the radio version. They got the radios in the bathroom version of the game. And the announcer just straight up said, this is the worst umpire I've ever seen. So everybody in there was laughing. You know, I like to go to the bathroom while the inning's going on, so I don't have to wait in line.
Yeah.
So
Best time to get food too.
yeah. So, you know, everybody in there was laughing because it was the truth. And that was a Baltimore Nationals game. So you had a place packed full of both teams, but we all had one guy that we all hated, the umpire. So, and then the pitcher walking off the mound saying, "That one's on you."
Yeah, that one's on you.
Yeah, and you can hear him saying that all over the ballpark in a packed house. Yeah, so that's great stories. That's why I love baseball. That's the one thing that I miss by automating things, by having phone calls and things, because some of the great stories of the game comes from bad calls or, you know, the remember wins, you know, the perfect game that the umpire missed the play at first and cried and, you know, asked for forgiveness from the pitcher. Those are the stories that kind of make the game sometimes, and I think we're gonna miss those a little bit if they get too automated. But also, we watched, now that the game is got so many cameras, so many things, we can see how umpires are missing calls, and it changes some of the outcomes. So it's not a bad thing to do this.
Oh yeah, the replay, as long as it doesn't take too long,
Right.
it's fine.
Yep. And the umpire is supposed to be behind the plate, so if he does tap his hat or whatever.
Now, one of the announcers that was doing the Mets game yesterday, he made a good point. I hadn't thought of it. He said, "What about these batters that they take a pitch or something like that, and then they step back and touch their hat to make sure their hat's okay?"
Yeah.
I mean, what's he going to turn around and say, "No, I didn't mean it"?
I'm just tightening up. Yeah, that's good thought. Got anything else for us today, Dad?
No, I just I'll do this next week. I have 11 rookies to look for. Might look for them. I'll do that. We'll do that next week.
Yeah, because I might not much movement. Hopefully, knock on wood, we won't have too many injuries in this.
Well, we'll be in the first week. We'll be starting the first week of March. So
yeah, so that's true. Quick month turnaround. Hope everybody's doing well. Hopefully, it's getting warmer.
Well, I do have a Yogi.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Yogi was talking to Bug Selig. They were having the attendance was down, and I think this was the year that there was a threat there might be a strike. So attendance was down. Well, Bug Selig was talking about, you know, we got to figure out a way to get some of these people back to the ballpark. And Yogi told him, he said, if people don't want to come to the ballpark, how are you going to stop them?
That's right.
Sure, Yogi. Okay. That's the problem. They're stopped.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for watching. We've been having quite a few new viewers. A couple of our videos have some good viewership, some good things in the comments. Let's keep it going. Thank y'all for watching. And until next time, we will see ya.